Have you ever looked at your life and asked yourself, why is this happening to me? Why is God not answering my prayer? Why am I facing so many problems when I am trying to do the right thing? Maybe you have prayed for something for months or even years. You prayed for a better job. You prayed for financial stability. You prayed for your family. You prayed for healing, peace, success, or a better future. But nothing seemed to change. And slowly, a thought entered your mind, maybe God has forgotten me. If you have ever felt this way, listen carefully. God has not forgotten you. Sometimes, God's silence does not mean his absence. Sometimes, the closed door is protection. Sometimes, the delay is preparation. And sometimes, what you think is a disappointment today may become the greatest blessing of your life tomorrow. That is why today's message is simple: never doubt God's plan. You may not understand it. You may not see where it is leading. You may not know why something happened. But you can still trust God. Imagine standing in the middle of a huge puzzle. You are holding only one piece. You look at that piece and think, what is the purpose of this? It doesn't make sense. But God sees the entire picture. That is the difference between our understanding and God's understanding. We see today. God sees tomorrow. We see the problem. God sees the purpose. We see the closed door. God may see the danger behind that door. We see the delay. God may see the preparation taking place inside us. The Bible reminds us that God's ways and thoughts are higher than ours. And this is one of the hardest lessons of faith: you don't have to understand everything to trust God. One of the most difficult words in life is, wait. We want answers immediately. We want success immediately. We want our prayers answered immediately. But God does not always work according to our timetable. You may be saying, God, please give me this opportunity, and God may be saying, wait. You may say, God, please change my situation, and God may be saying, wait. You may say, God, why haven't you answered me? And the answer may be, because I am preparing something you cannot see yet. Think about a seed. When you plant a seed in the ground, you don't see anything happening immediately. Days pass. The ground looks exactly the same. But underneath the soil, something is happening. Roots are growing. Life is developing. The seed is preparing for what comes next. Your life can be like that. Just because you cannot see progress does not mean God is doing nothing. Something may be happening beneath the surface. This is something you should remember whenever life becomes difficult. Delay does not always mean denial. Maybe you have been waiting for an opportunity. Maybe you have been waiting for a relationship. Maybe you have been waiting for financial improvement. Maybe you have been waiting for your dream to become reality. And because it hasn't happened yet, you think God has said no. But what if God is saying, not yet? There is a huge difference between no and not yet. A child may ask their parent for something dangerous. The parent says no. The child may become upset. The child may think, my parent doesn't love me. But the parent knows something the child doesn't know. The parent understands the danger. In the same way, there may be things you desperately want that God knows are not right for you at this moment. Trust His wisdom. Have you ever lost an opportunity and later realized that it was actually good that you didn't get it? Maybe you didn't get the job you wanted. Maybe someone walked away from your life. Maybe a business opportunity failed. Maybe a relationship ended. At that moment, you were heartbroken. You thought, why did God allow this to happen? But months or years later, you looked back and realized, that was actually a blessing. Sometimes we cry because God closed a door. But later we thank Him for closing it. The door you are begging God to open may be the very door He is protecting you from. So don't judge God's plan based only on today's circumstances. You don't know what God is protecting you from. Jesus himself taught people to trust God rather than live in constant fear and anxiety. In Matthew 6, Jesus tells his followers not to be consumed by worry about tomorrow. He points them toward God's care and provision. The message is powerful: don't allow tomorrow to steal the peace you have today. Many of us spend our lives worrying about things that haven't happened. What if I fail? What if I lose my job? What if my future doesn't work out? What if my dreams never come true? But worrying about tomorrow cannot change tomorrow. Faith can change the way you face it. Instead of saying, "I don't know what will happen," say, "I don't know what will happen, but I know God is with me." That is faith. Maybe your life looks completely different from what you imagined. You thought you would be successful by now. You thought you would have more money. You thought your family situation would be different. You thought your dreams would already be fulfilled. And now you feel behind. But remember, your current chapter is not your entire story. A difficult chapter does not mean a terrible ending. A painful season does not mean your entire life will be painful. A failure does not mean you are a failure. A delay does not mean your dream is dead. Sometimes God uses difficult seasons to build character, patience, courage, wisdom, and faith. You may be asking God to change your circumstances, but God may be using those circumstances to change you. There will be moments when you pray and feel nothing. You open your Bible. You pray. You wait. But everything seems silent. Those moments can be incredibly difficult. But remember, your feelings do not determine God's presence. You may not feel God, but that does not mean God has left you. The sun is still shining even when clouds cover it. You simply cannot see it. In the same way, God's presence does not disappear just because you cannot feel it. Keep praying. Keep believing. Keep moving forward. Fear often tells us, "Give up. You will never succeed. Nothing will change. You are alone. Your future is hopeless." But faith says, keep going. Trust God. Take the next step. Your story isn't finished. This doesn't mean you will never experience fear. Faith does not mean the absence of fear. Faith means choosing to trust God even when you are afraid. You can be scared and still have faith. You can cry and still have faith. You can feel confused and still have faith. You can have questions and still trust God. God does not require you to understand everything. He asks you to trust Him. So what should you do when you don't understand God's plan? First, pray. Don't run away from God when life becomes difficult. Run toward Him. Tell Him exactly how you feel. You don't have to use perfect words. Simply say, "God, I don't understand what is happening. I am afraid. I am tired. I don't know what to do. But I choose to trust you." That simple prayer can become the beginning of peace. Second, stop comparing your journey with someone else's. Maybe someone else is succeeding faster than you. Maybe someone else has the life you wanted. But God has a different journey for every person. Your timeline is not their timeline. Your purpose is not their purpose. Don't measure God's plan for your life by someone else's life. Third, keep doing what is right. Even when nobody notices. Even when progress is slow. Even when you feel discouraged. Keep praying. Keep working. Keep learning. Keep loving. Keep forgiving. Keep serving. Keep moving forward. Sometimes the experiences that hurt us the most teach us the lessons we need the most. The difficult season may teach you patience. The failure may teach you humility. The rejection may teach you strength. The disappointment may teach you dependence on God. The waiting may teach you faith. You may not understand the purpose while you're going through it. But one day you may look back and say, "Now I understand why I had to go through that." Not every painful event is something God wanted to happen. But God can bring purpose, growth, and hope even from painful seasons. That is why you should never allow one difficult chapter to convince you that God has abandoned your story. You don't have to figure out your entire future today. You only need to take the next step. If you don't know what to do next, pray. If you cannot see the entire road, take the next faithful step. If the future feels uncertain, trust God with tomorrow. You don't need tomorrow's strength today. God gives you grace for today. Jesus taught his followers not to worry about tomorrow because tomorrow will take care of itself. So breathe. Slow down. Pray. And focus on today. Sometimes God's answer really is no. And that can hurt. But even when God says no, his love does not disappear. A closed door does not mean a closed relationship with God. Sometimes God's no protects your future. Sometimes his no redirects your path. Sometimes his no creates space for something better. You may not understand it today. But don't stop trusting him. Because God's plan is not limited to what you can see right now. Maybe you are watching this video late at night. Maybe you are going through something nobody knows about. Maybe you smile in front of everyone, but inside you are struggling. Maybe you have been praying for a long time. And perhaps you are wondering, how much longer? If that is you, remember this, don't give up. Your story is not over. Your prayer is not meaningless. Your waiting is not necessarily wasted. Your tears are not invisible to God. Keep trusting. Keep praying. Keep walking. You may not know what tomorrow holds, but you can trust the one who holds tomorrow. So today, remember these 5 simple things. First, God has not forgotten you. Second, a delay does not always mean denial. Third, a closed door may be protection. Fourth, you don't have to understand God's plan to trust him. And finally, never give up on God because of one difficult season. Your life is still being written. You are still growing. Your story is still unfolding. The chapter you are living today may not make sense, but that doesn't mean the whole story won't make sense someday. So when you don't understand, trust. When you are afraid, pray. When you are tired, rest in God. When the door closes, don't lose hope. When the answer is delayed, keep believing. And when you cannot see the road ahead, remember, you don't need to see the entire path. You only need enough faith to take the next step. Never doubt God's plan. Because sometimes what feels like the end is actually a new beginning. Sometimes what feels like rejection is protection. Sometimes what feels like waiting is preparation. And sometimes the blessing you are praying for is being prepared in ways you cannot see. So keep your faith. Keep your heart open. Keep praying. And most importantly, trust God. Your future may be uncertain to you, but it is never uncertain to God. If this message touched your heart, share it with someone who may be going through a difficult season.